Good morning, everyone. Namaste. It is traditional in Science of Mind churches to do the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind textbook, which are the basic foundations of Science of Mind. So throughout this month, we are doing that, and this would be my 5th year of telling you the same thing. So I'm not. What I'm doing instead is I'm asking my religious science practitioners, some of them, to speak this month about these principles so that you get a whole fresh voice, a whole new way of hearing these principles that are the basis for what Science of Mind teaches. And the 4 lessons are the thing itself, which Billy is going to be talking about today, the way it works, what it does, and the most important, how to use it. So as we progress through the month, you'll be able to hear a different voice each time, telling you how, once again, to use the Science of Mind and what it's based on. So today I want to bring up Billy Shank, who is one of our licensed religious science practitioners, and you get to hear this information in a deeper voice than before.
I think. Thank you, Reverend Grace. It really is an honor to be here and to talk, especially at this time when I know we have at least one new person. This is going to be the first time you hear anything about this, and this is the greatest time to be here in January when we go over these things. So before we get started, I'd like to say that affirmation again. My life is God's life now. My life is full of peace, love, beauty, and joy.
My life is full of peace, love, beauty, and joy.
I live my life exactly as I choose.
I live my life exactly as I choose.
I love my life.
I love my life.
Does anybody here actually believe that? Everybody's supposed to say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody feel that you're actually living it 24/7? Be honest. Be honest. We're working on it. Does anybody wish they were there all the time?
Yes.
There you go. That's what's so good about that. I know that's where I'm at all the time. I know this stuff is true. I feel it within me. It's like innate. It is my nature that life is good. The universe is for me. There is something out there that cares about me. But sometimes my crap gets in the way. And CRAP is an acronym that I stole from Michael Beckwith, and it means a consciousness resisting absolute perfection. So if you want to say you're full of crap, you just go right ahead. But I know there's a way to get back, and that's what this book is all about. This is a way, this is like a roadmap. When I'm kind of not feeling it, I can find it right here. I can come to this center or centers like it, and I can feel it. And I can know that truth that I feel innately within myself, there is a scientific basis for it. It's not just superstition. It's not things that a lot of us were growing up with. And the nice thing about this, Ernest Holmes based this science on spiritual principles. The ones I've heard a lot are from the Bible. Not that the Bible's any better than anything else. He was a religious scholar, but being in the 1920s, basically an Anglo-Saxon in the United States, the Bible was the book of choice. And so he would quote from that often. And there's two quotes that I've heard a lot that this science is based on, one from the Old Testament and one from the New. The Old Testament is, as a man thinketh, so he is. And from the New Testament is, it is done unto you as you believe. And I think of those as kind of the how. It's done unto you as you believe, as you think, so you are. But there is a why to this too. And the master teacher Jesus said that when people asked him, what is the most important commandment? He said, well, that's easy. You love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your might. And the second's just like it, love your neighbor. And then he gave one commandment. Jesus only gave one commandment, no matter what you've heard. And he said that you love each other even as I have loved you. And so love is deep in this thing. And I think most of us, somewhere along the line, we can say, I get that. I can feel that, you know. Love is my innate nature. That is where I'm at. That's what drives me. And I know as I think, I will get what I think. And that all sounds good. And we've heard that a bunch. But where's the science in that? And that's where, again, Ernest Holmes was brilliant. He took a scientific method and applied it to religious principle. And there is a scientific method. You may have remember this if you took it in school. The first part of that scientific method is to recognize something that happens in nature all by itself. I like to think of Isaac Newton. He's sitting underneath a tree. As legend would have it, an apple fell on him. And he went, what's up with that? Most of us would look at that and just go, no big deal. Well, he said, what's up with that? Let's figure that out. Well, he had just noticed the thing itself. He had recognized the law of gravity. He didn't discover it. He didn't make it. He just saw it for what it was. And he said, let's look a little deeper into this thing. So the second part of that is, how does it work? How's this thing work? Again, most of us wouldn't think about that, but part of the scientific method, he looked at that and he says, okay, as the weight of an object overcomes the resistance to it, it will fall. There is a metaphysical lesson in there that says as your belief overcomes the resistance to it, it will happen. But that's kind of stepping on somebody else's talk later, so file that one away. But as the apple gets bigger, the stem gets weaker, the apple falls, okay? That's how it works. The only reason this book stays up here is because this ledge is holding it up. Otherwise, it's going to fall. The only reason it's in my hand is because my fingers hold it up. Now, the next part of that is, what's it doing? What does it actually do? That's the third part. Well, he found out if he dropped things, they go straight down every single time. There's no magnetic down. You know, if I walk over here, it's not going to fall over there. It falls straight down no matter where you are on the earth. And also, everything falls at the same rate, 32 feet per second. You, me, this book, an 800-pound gorilla, we jump off a building, we're going to hit the ground at the same time. That's pretty phenomenal, you know, if you think about it. And then right then, I like to think that Isaac was under the tree and he saw a great big bug getting ready to crawl up his shoe. Much to the chagrin of the bug, he learned how to use that law of gravity. And so there is... You know, and that's what this book, what Reverend Susan was just talking about. We got the thing itself, we got how it works, how to use it, and what it does in a different order. And so you go, well, that's great. How does this apply to religious science? How does this apply? And that's the beauty of how that actually happens. Because we start talking about God. And one of Ernest Holmes' most famous sayings was, there's a power for good in the universe that we can use it. And there's a time in our life, not in our life, but in the not too distant past, where that, just saying that might have got you burned at the stake. You know, and there's probably places in the world where that could happen right now, maybe even in the United States, but not here. To use God is a pretty heavy concept, especially back in the 20s, a little sketchy. But that comes from an archaic, superstitious way of looking at God that many of us probably grew up with. I know I did. Jennifer probably did. Most of us are there. That's kind of why we're here, because we don't like that guy. That guy is basically Santa Claus with an attitude. Out there somewhere, he's still ticked off about that girl that ate his apple. I didn't even know her, but some reason I got to pay for it. He just won't let it go. Okay? Well, that's not our God. Okay? Thank God for that. Okay? Thank God. Right? And I think that's why everybody's sitting in these seats, because we didn't like that guy. Okay? Or it didn't make sense, because that guy is not really there. But now we talk about God. Going back to the science, okay, if that's not God, what is God? Okay? And when we talk about science, there is the most basic principle that there is nothing can come from nothing. And so if we observe anything in nature, I'm observing you, there's something here. The fact that something's here means something always had to be here. For life to be, life always had to be. And now we're in the realm of infinity. And now we're in a realm that, we'll just admit it right now, we don't know anything what we're talking about. We don't really know, but we're going to try, because if I don't, I have nothing else to talk about, and service is over. So and we can't help ourselves because we like to talk. But in religious science, we always talk about God as something more, like the absolute, infinite being, source, first cause. In fact, Ernest Holmes calls this the study of first cause. The first cause in this realm of all the rest of the causes. But we are in that realm of infinity that we will never know God, just like we will never know gravity by calling it something. We will know it by how it shows up. We'll know it by its nature. And in the Bible, in a metaphysical, Name means nature. So when we call it in the name of Christ, it is in the nature of Christ. We come from that space. So we know God how it shows up. And so we'll go to Ernest Holmes and see what he thinks about that. He says, Ernest says, that we are living in a spiritual universe, which includes the material or physical universe, has been a conclusion of the deepest thinkers of every age. That this spiritual universe must be one of pure intelligence and perfect life, dominated by love, by reason, and by the power to create, seems an inevitable conclusion. So this God, this infinite source, is intelligent, regardless of what you see on TV or on the internet. It is intelligent. It is love. It is perfect light. It is dominated by love. And if we go to Thomas Troward, who Ernest Holmes freely admits he plagiarized hugely, he will say, we can have no possible doubt that this spirit is creative. Therefore, we know its law of tendency must be to bring individual lives into existence and to surround them with a suitable environment. So God creates from itself and provides a suitable environment. And I love this. It's probably the shortest thing Thomas Troward ever wrote. He says, now, a power which has this as its inherent nature must be a kindly power. God is a kindly power. God wants to support itself because everything is itself. And so everything here rests on love and on that ability to provide for itself. And Thomas Troward, again, he says about love, and he says it's an unavoidable conclusion that the all-originating Spirit's inherent desire is to add to the fullness of any individual life. Its desire is to bestow the greater fullness of a joyous life. That is, to make it stronger, brighter, and happier. If this is not love, then I don't know what is. Now that is probably the greatest definition of love that I've ever heard. To bestow upon anyone a greater fullness of life. I mean, think about it. When you think about love, that's what you want. That's what you want for your children, your dog, whatever. That's a great one. There's another one that I got from M. Scott Peck that I love too. Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. To extend yourself for your own or another's spiritual growth. And it's often called the self-givingness of God. There's something in each one of those definitions. Love is a call to action. Love is a feeling. Love is something that I feel. My wife, everybody knows Andrea here. Not everybody, because we got a new person. But I love her so much, but if I can't express that love somehow, it's the most frustrating thing in the world. Everybody knows that. You're in love, but you can't express it. It's frustrating. Well, God, in its infinite wisdom, allows us to express our love. How does it do that?